on home ice. Will it be just what the Leafs need to retake the lead?
The playoff push continues. Puck drops on a pivotal Game 5 tonight. Good afternoon. Toronto is tied with the Florida Panthers with 2 wins each in this round 2 of the playoffs.
Each of those wins were at home, so you can bet Maple Leaf Square will be packed with fans as the team tries to regain that lead at Scotiabank Arena. That's where we find CTV's Sean Leathong this noon hour with more ahead of this big game, Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, you said pivotal, and think about it this way. One statistic is that when a series is tied 2-2, whoever wins Game 5 goes on to win the series roughly 80% of the time. So that's something for Leafs fans to think about, and you do want home ice advantage when you're in that situation. Looking back to Game 4, of course, the Leafs had the lead 2-0 when they went down to Florida. Coming back, they now are tied 2-2. It's because of games like Game 4 where the Leafs just couldn't find an answer for the Florida Panthers, with goals from players like Sam Bennett making it 2-0 late in the third period, and they couldn't seem to get one past Sergei Bobrovsky. But one bright spot for the Leafs in that game was goaltender Joseph Woll, who played outstanding, and he will be in the net for the Leafs tonight. And there is, of course, that bad blood that developed at the end of Game 4. Max Domi putting a hit on Barkov from the captain for the Florida Panthers, and getting getting fined $5,000 coming out of that one. And the players today weren't focusing on the bad blood. They weren't talking about having lost 2. They were more so focusing on the opportunity that's in front of them. Here's what they had to say.
Chief talked about this is what you work for, to play in these types of games and get to this point in the season in the series. So excited about it.
We've responded all playoffs long, frankly, whether it's through a series or throughout a game. I think our resilience has been solid and composure's been good, so I don't expect that to change.
The Leafs skating this morning, and Florida just finishing up their skate right now. We do know going into tonight, Coach Craig Berube is talking about the possibility of lineup changes, saying that any changes to the lineup will be, of course, a game-time decision. Nothing announced just yet. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Sean. Want to take you live to Queen's Park, where Premier Doug Ford is taking questions following a news conference on a trade agreement signed with Manitoba. Let's listen in live.
Some of these tough times with these tariffs. I'm also confident, and I'm not speaking for anyone, just myself. I'm very confident as you see President Trump start rolling out all these deals and agreements, and his comments this morning. It seems like he's being friendly to everyone now. So hopefully we're gonna. I know I kind of laugh there too, but I feel we're gonna get a deal hopefully in the next month. And I don't know, but I'm pretty confident. You can't just ignore your largest customer, largest trading partner, but I'm confident they're gonna work something out.
Hi, Niju Damalis from the Globe and Mail. The MOU signed today is quite specific about reaching a direct-to-consumer sales deal by the end of June. That it's not as specific in the MOUs with New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I'm wondering if you expect the path forward on alcohol sales between provinces to be through bilateral deals, or whether there's hope for there to be some sort of national framework so that alcohol sales are liberalized across the country.
Well, right now it'll be bilateral, but wouldn't it be great if we could go right across the country? You know, it's a shame that I don't know, people in BC can't ship a bottle of wine, or we can't ship it over to them. And there's people that like our wine. I know Quebecers love Ontario Niagara wines. So we need to do it right across the country, in my opinion. But right now it looks like it's going to be bilateral.
As a follow-up, on June 2nd, premiers will be meeting with the Prime Minister in Saskatoon. Yes. What are you both hoping to see from the Prime Minister and, I guess, your colleagues in terms of specifically this issue of interprovincial trade?
Well, before I pass it over to Premier Kinew, our goal is to talk about the large national infrastructure projects that the Prime Minister has asked us for a list. All of us have submitted the list. Also looking forward to making sure that the federal government leads the way when it comes to interprovincial trade. We aren't waiting. We're going to continue signing deals. I'm confident we'll have a deal with Saskatchewan when we're out there, and hopefully Premier Smith will sign on. We'll get as many people to sign on as possible, because this is just going to benefit our country as a whole, and making ourselves stronger economically. That's our goal, is to create an opportunity. You know, I always say, any crisis, there's an opportunity, and this is a massive opportunity for the entire country to build large national infrastructure projects. Pass it over to you.
Yeah. All right, listening to Premier Doug Ford and his counterpart Rob Kinew. They just signed a trade deal, Ontario and Manitoba. This is in response to Trump's tariffs. We'll give you details on our newscast at 5 and 6 tonight, and of course online at ctvnewstoronto.ca. Still to come, joining the fight against food security, a massive effort in Mississauga. Volunteers working together to help kids in need. We'll take you there coming up.
A 68-year-old Newmarket man has been sentenced to house arrest after 3 of his dogs attacked a 9-year-old girl back in July of 2023. It happened at a home on Jackson Court. The girl and her father were visiting the house to view puppies for sale. York Regional Police say 3 bulldog-type dogs rushed out of the home and attacked the girl without provocation, causing her serious injuries. Yesterday, Leslie Theodore Kovacs pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing bodily harm and 3 counts under the Ontario Dog Owners Liability Act. He was sentenced to 1 year of house arrest, 15 months of probation, a $5,000 fine, and a lifetime ban on owning a dog. The dogs involved in the attack were surrendered to Animal Services, and they were euthanized.
The province's Special Investigations Unit has cleared Toronto police officers in the death of a woman who fell from an apartment balcony earlier this year. It happened on January 13th at a high-rise on High Park Avenue. The SIU says police were executing an arrest warrant for a number of break-and-enter charges when the 44-year-old woman fell from a balcony. The SIU says police knocked on the woman's door and spoke with her before she closed the door and attempted to exit the unit from the balcony. The agency's director says there is no evidence indicating the officers committed a criminal offense.
Firefighters put out a fire at a home in East York late last night. Crews were called to Woodbine Heights Boulevard near St. Clair and O'Connor around 10:45. The cause is under investigation, but it is not believed to be suspicious.
City officials have euthanized 2 coyotes following growing safety concerns in Fort York and Liberty Village. Officials say coyotes in those 2 communities have been conditioned to human interactions, and that's resulted in attacks on pets and people. The city says a mated pair of coyotes was put down while a 3rd coyote has left the area. A group representing residents in the 2 neighborhoods had called on the city to take action earlier this year after claiming 6 coyote attacks happened in a single night.
The city does need a better wildlife management policy and or wildlife management strategy, and I do wish that they would take relocation a little bit more seriously. Experts have said that pack relocation can work. However, we have the MNR enforcing the 1 kilometer policy when Ontario is the only one with this 1 kilometer policy. Quebec has a 75 kilometer policy. And considering coyotes travel more than 1 kilometer daily on their own, it almost doesn't make any sense.
Meanwhile, local councillor Osman Malik released a statement which reads in part, "Our wildlife experts determined 2 specific coyotes were responsible for the majority of incidents and removed them. This step was not taken lightly, but was a necessary step. It followed escalation of protocols, including aversion attempts to force the coyotes out of the community, balancing safety and humane considerations."
Could a major transit hub in our city be getting a new name?
The TTC board is considering changing Dundas subway station to TMU station. It's just one of the items up for debate during a meeting today. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with the details. Mike.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, just moments ago, the TTC board unanimously approving to rename Dundas Station after Toronto Metropolitan University, an idea that the school had pitched to the TTC. Now, as part of this agreement, the university will cover the costs of the name change. TMU says the change reflects the evolution of the local neighborhood that the university encompasses and has grown in. And as part of this, TMU will establish an innovation hub that will bring experts together who will conduct system-wide research that will search for some solutions to some of the TTC's biggest issues. The president of TMU has a unique opportunity. More from TTC Chair Jamal Myers.
No taxpayer money will be spent on the renaming, and all costs associated with the renaming of Dundas Station to TMU Station will be borne by Toronto Metropolitan University. This represents a fundamental shift in how we do business at the TTC and addresses directly the reliability issues that have been plaguing our system and frustrating our customers for far too long.
And the board chair notes that the transit agency is open to other collaborations like this one. As for the research component of this, TMU says it will start off as an 18-month pilot, but the hope is to make this a long-term initiative. The TTC has estimated that renaming a subway station alone would cost $1.5 million. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. More news in a moment, but let's take a peek outside. Here's a live look at City Hall there. Nathan Phillips Square, a whole bunch of people seem to be enjoying things under cloudy skies, and fortunately it's not too cool. We're just wondering if we're going to get some rain today. Lindsay Morrison's been monitoring it. She joins us now with the current conditions. What are you seeing, Lindsay?
Well, Michelle, there is still the chance of showers today. We're not quite out of this unsettled pattern just yet, but I do expect that the afternoon is going to be drier than this morning. It was a little bit damp out there. We are still seeing wet weather between Cobourg and Colborne, as well as around Prince Edward County. Otherwise, though, across southern Ontario, it is mainly some low-level cloud and some sunny breaks in some areas too. We've got an east wind right now. That's again keeping some lakeside communities a little bit cooler. We are at 18 degrees at Toronto Pearson. Compare that to 10 degrees in Burlington, 15 in Ajax. Here's today at a glance. Again, holding on to that chance of showers, but the majority of your afternoon looks to be dry today. And overall, we're going to be drier heading through the rest of the week. But again, there's just that potential for some wet weather, so don't put the umbrella away quite yet. We'll take you through what you need to know coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. With hunger a growing problem right across the country, an army of volunteers has come together to fight food insecurity.
They've gathered at the International Center to help feed kids in need. CTV's Rahim Ladani joins us live with the details. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, good afternoon. A massive effort is underway here to help create 250,000 food kits, which will be shipped right across Canada this summer. Now, there is a shift change right now, so there aren't any volunteers here. It's quieter, but over the last 2 days, 1,300 volunteers have been lending their time to help fight insecurity. Now, food insecurity is not a new issue. However, the need for it during the summer months, it does really stick out. Take a listen to some of these numbers. Every month, 2 million Canadians access food banks. Out of that, a third of them are children. That's around 700,000 kids. Now, during the school year, many of them rely on school programs to help bridge that gap. But when school's out, now there is no safety net. And that's where these food kits are hoping to come into handy. And so 16 items in each food kit will be packed, shipped to 235 different communities across the country to help feed those kids. The focus today is on children, but what's really been interesting is to hear how the demographics of those who are relying on food banks is also changing, including some members of the auto industry who are going through a tough time right now. Take a listen.
Our demand is increasing. We are an automotive city. Many jobs are people that work for the automotive industry. So there's a lot of spin-off jobs, and so we get hit hard when there are layoffs, and we are not diverse, so it does make it really hard. We're seeing a lot of people that are working. Perhaps they're laid off. We're seeing a lot of seniors. We're seeing a lot of youth. We're seeing a lot of, different people utilizing a food bank today. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions about who utilizes a food bank. So everybody seems to be needing our help right now.
What's really interesting is of the 16 items in these food packs, all of them have been kid approved. So these items like roasted edamame, a mango shake, and even cheese dippers, the Food Banks Canada actually chats with kids and gets their feedback on them, so they make sure that the food that's going out to these children, they like, they'll eat, and they're nutritious. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. I'll send it back to you in studio.
All yummy items. Thank you so much, Rahim. Bike Share Toronto is expanding to the Toronto Island starting on Friday. The service is launching with 250 bikes located at 4 stations, one each at Hanlan's Ferry Dock, Hanlan's Beach, Ward's Ferry Dock, and Centre Island Dock. A new station has also been added at the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal. The Toronto Parking Authority says to ensure availability, island bikes, which will be identified with a decal, must be docked at island stations.
Well, it seems the May long weekend is always uncertain weather-wise.
But one thing that is certain, the boats will be out, and with that, it's the perfect time for emergency crews to hit the water, to sharpen their skills and share that familiar message. CTV's Luke Simard reports.
With some nice weather potentially on the horizon for the long weekend, the OPP are preparing for busy waterways at the annual Marine Training Program in Gravenhurst. Sergeant Dave Moffat has been at the helm of the program for more than 20 years.
To make them very aware that they have a big role in their communities, to make sure that they spread the information. Try to let people know that it's pretty easy to get home at night. You just have to be very aware of the hazards that are out there.
The course focuses on navigation, water safety, and operating safely on the water.
We have a river that runs right next to the community. So safe boating practices up there are extremely important. If you fall overboard or anything like that, the river current could take you. So stressing important factors like wearing your life jacket or PFD is something that I'll definitely take away from here.
Critical marine knowledge and safety tools that is shared across the province.
2 of our communities are actually boat-in access, so this is pretty crucial for us to be able to get down and respond to the calls of service as needed.
With 4 water deaths this year already, a simple, familiar message echoed again by officers.
With the technology out there right now, it should be a no-brainer that you don't have. If you don't have a life jacket on, you're really putting yourself at risk.
The OPP say education and awareness are key factors to boaters and recommend taking courses before hitting the open water.
The safer you are, the safer your family is, the easier job we have. So be prepared. Know the equipment that's required on your vessel.
With the May long weekend approaching, the OPP are reminding boaters to use caution and courtesy when out on the water. Police will be out patrolling the Muskoka and Georgian Bay regions, enforcing water safety and making sure people are wearing their life jackets. Luke Simard, CTV News, Gravenhurst.
To Ottawa, where the Prime Minister is meeting right now with his new cabinet.
Some of the ministers spoke with reporters on the way in this morning and were asked about Honda's decision to postpone a $15 billion electric vehicle project here in Ontario. The automaker says it is delaying its scale-up in the community of Alliston for about 2 years as it monitors market conditions. It is the biggest such deal so far in Canada, blamed on a weakened outlook for EV sales, and comes as Honda expects a drop in profits because of U.S. tariffs. The project was due to create about 1,000 jobs.
I had the chance this morning to talk with Vic Fidelli from Ontario already and to talk about the Honda issue. Our goal is definitely to make sure that we're in solution mode. My goal is before the end of the day to be able to talk to the head of Honda. To all people that are in the auto sector, my goal is to make sure that I'll be there for you.
That's the mission that we have ahead of us as a cabinet, is to strengthen the Canadian economy and protect workers from the shock that's coming from a changing economic relationship with the United States. And that's a task that the Prime Minister has given me, along with many other ministers, to ensure that we support workers no matter what comes.
Today's cabinet meeting is happening the day after Carney shook up his front bench. He named 28 full ministers and appointed a second tier of 10 secretaries of state. For more on this, we're joined now by CTV's Scott Hurst in Ottawa. Scott, the cabinet, it really is a window into Carney's priorities. What is being made of his team?
This is a team, as you mentioned, that's now been in place for about 24 hours. A team handpicked by Mark Carney that he feels can deliver the platform of change that he feels he was elected on. And we're already hearing these ministers touch on the key themes that we've heard from Mark Carney throughout the campaign, and that is a focus on protecting jobs, a focus on building the Canadian economy, not just finding new markets away from the threat of the tariffs from the U.S., but also east-west markets, interprovincial trade barriers, breaking those down as well. And one of the key ministers who will be focusing on that is Chrystia Freeland, as that is part of her profile, breaking down interprovincial trade barriers. And we heard from her this morning saying she's already heard from several premiers wanting to get to work. Here's more from Chrystia Freeland.
I really believe this is a moment we can get it done. Internal trade has become sexy. It has. I know, it's funny, but yet true. You see premiers across the country really putting their shoulder to the wheel. Yesterday, after the cabinet announcement, I heard from a number of premiers who got in touch with me directly and said, let's go, let's do this.
Michelle, first and foremost, I've never thought I'd hear an MP talking about interprovincial trade as sexy, but I guess these are the times we're in right now. Now, in terms of criticism, we're already hearing from the opposition. You mentioned that there are a lot of new faces as part of this front bench, but also a lot of familiar faces as well. And we heard from Pierre Poilievre criticizing some of the so-called old guard from this team. Many of these key positions, these key people in key positions, are still a lot from the previous Trudeau government.
Sure, there's lots of faces that we know already, but let's talk about those new faces. Who should we be watching for in some high-profile positions?
15 new cabinet ministers, and 13 of them are new to federal politics, and some of them have really important jobs that Canadians want to see action on. They want to see progress on. One of them is Tim Hodgson. He has been an advisor to Carney while at the Bank of Canada. He is the new Minister of Energy and Natural Resources and says he already has plans to visit Western Canada, as there's been a lot of talk about giving the green light potentially to some big natural resource projects, as we've heard a lot of criticism, particularly from Alberta and stakeholders in oil and gas, that the previous Liberal government had forgotten about them a lot and not done enough to build up these projects. Here's more from Tim Hodgson on that.
A lot to do. I look forward to working with my provincial and territorial counterparts, our Indigenous partners, our industrial partners, and other stakeholders to build a more prosperous, secure, and safe Canada. And I will be going out west very soon.
Yeah, and in terms of more criticism from opposition, notably this time from the Premier of Alberta in the pick for the new Environment Minister, Toronto area MP Julie DeBruzen, we heard from the Alberta Premier criticizing this pick as yet another anti-oil and gas minister. So even though we're hearing a lot of talk about potentially working with the West, getting some of these resource projects built, there is still a lot to rebuild that relationship between Alberta and Ottawa.
And we will be watching how it all plays out. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister will travel to Vatican City to attend Pope Leo's inaugural Mass this weekend. Mark Carney's office says he's leaving on Friday. He'll also meet with other world leaders during the trip to talk about strengthening trade and cultural ties. Sunday's ceremony at St. Peter's Square marks the official start of the pontiff's term.
Donald Trump, meantime, is in Qatar today, the second stop on his tour of the Middle East. The U.S. president addressed the Gulf Cooperation Council, saying he urgently wants to reach a deal to wind down Iran's nuclear program.
I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Trump also met with the new president of Syria after announcing he will lift sanctions on that country. Ahmad al-Shara took over after insurgents ended the 54-year rule of the Assad family.
I'm Jessica Smith, and I'm here at the AGO as this iconic landmark gets ready to celebrate its 125th birthday. Right now, we're standing inside the Canadian Connection with some familiar scenes. Coming up after the break, we'll have more on the celebrations throughout the year and what you can expect. All those details coming up after the break.
Well, as you know, there is a big hockey game on tonight. The Leafs taking on Game 5, and I believe that many fans are going to be gathering at Maple Leaf Square. Of course, they do rain or shine. Conditions are looking pretty good for this evening. Here's a look at what you can expect throughout the game time. Mostly cloudy skies, still the chance of a shower, and then some fog developing overnight. And then, of course, we have the long weekend not too far away now, the unofficial start to the summer season. If you're headed north, there's an early look at your long weekend forecast. It is going to brighten up by the end of it, but it will be significantly cooler. We'll talk about what's in store a little closer to home here in the city of Toronto after this break here on CTV News.
All right, let's talk about the forecast on this hump day. And again, comfortable enough conditions, but gray skies.
I think it's been nice that it hasn't been freezing. But yeah, you know, when it's gloomy like this, it kind of feels a bit cooler than maybe it is.
Yeah, oh, for sure. The good news is I think we're now past the heaviest rain that we're going to get this week. with the exception of maybe a thunderstorm if that develops. And there is a chance of that happening a little later this week, but it was a damp start to the day today. This afternoon is going to be drier. Might be a struggle to get rid of all that cloud out there, but there are brighter skies in store for tomorrow. Weather is brought to you by the Pressler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Now, this is a pretty cool vantage point of the clouds. This is taken from the camera atop the CN Tower, and you can see that cloud drifting across the city. Hard to make out some of the skyscrapers there. This was shortly before the noon hour. Some of this cloud has lifted, but in many areas it is continuing to be a gray start to the afternoon, and overall a bit of a gray day as a whole. Let's take a look once again at the other weather story we've been following for you in northern Ontario. The heat. There are still heat warnings in place for some areas. It has now come to an end in Winnipeg. What a difference, in fact. Look at Winnipeg, 17 degrees right now. This time yesterday, it was already 30, so that's the power of a cold front. Still quite warm in, again, sections of northwestern Ontario, but overall things are starting to settle down. 25 degrees this hour in Timmins. Compare that to us in the south. I mean, traditionally, we are usually warmer in southern Ontario compared to the north, but it's just that weather setup that we have this week. We are cooler and unsettled, but by no means are we cool. We are seasonal here in the GTA. Average daytime high is 19 degrees. Again, we've already reached it there. Cold spot today, Fort Severn, around the freezing mark earlier on. Tonight's low, well above freezing. We are looking at a forecast low of 15 degrees. So again, very mild through the overnight hours. That is going to contribute to some fog, likely going to be waking up to some of that as well. So be aware. But light winds, cloudy skies to start off the day tomorrow. Still the chance of a shower, followed by some sunny breaks in through the afternoon. Here's a little snapshot. 25 degrees tomorrow in Stratford, as well as Tillsonburg. 26 degrees in the Orangeville area. We're starting to see a little bit of humidity build, not just for Thursday, but certainly into Friday as well. 23 degrees for you in Belleville. Another look at the satellite and radar. I want to widen things out to show you that area of low pressure bringing us all of this wet weather. It's starting to weaken, it's starting to dissipate, but let's take you through the forecast radar to give you an idea of what's left with this. There's mid-afternoon, east end of the GTA especially, maybe a few showers. There's the clearing followed by some fog overnight and into tomorrow. Just a heads up for your Thursday afternoon. We're likely to get some clearing. That would be good. Overnight and into Friday. Right now the models show potential for a line of thunderstorms to roll through. That would be overnight and into the early morning, followed by some sun on Friday. So our forecast has changed a little bit for this week. I do see brighter skies for both Thursday and Friday. 26 degrees for Friday, unsettled to kick off the long weekend. Returning to sunshine, though, for Sunday. Look at the cool down, though. 15 for the high, 17 degrees for Victoria Day Monday. That's the weather for now. Michelle, I'll send things over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Now to a major milestone for a popular Toronto attraction.
The AGO is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year, and we're taking a look back at where the gallery started and what's on the horizon. CTV Jessica Smith is checking out the exhibits and joins us live. Jessica.
Hi, Michelle and Nathan. The Art Gallery of Ontario really is one of those iconic landmarks here in the city. And to kind of explain the history and where we're going, because it's a long history, is Stefan Yo. So talk to me about where it all started, because I know it began in 1900, but it's had a few iterations since then.
Yeah, we've had 7 expansions since 1900, but it all starts in Grange Park. Grange Park is part of the AGO, and there's a little house there we call the Grange, and that was the original AGO. And we've expanded, and we're expanding again, actually.
And I know part of the lore of this place is just the infrastructure, the winding staircases, all the different rooms. Is that what you think initially draws people in, and then they get to the art and then they're like, wow?
I think people come in for all sorts of reasons. They come in for a first date, they come in for art they've grown up with and love, and they come in for the architecture. It's Frank Gehry. He's from Toronto. He's the world's most famous architect. You know, he should have a good presence here in Toronto, and he does here at the AGO.
And we're standing in the Canadian Collection right now, and there are some iconic scenes where I'm like, okay, I think I recognize some of these places. How important is it to also feature Canadian art in addition to the international artists that really come through this iconic building?
We're a Canadian museum first, right? We're the Art Gallery of Ontario. We're for the people of Ontario. The Thompson Canadian Collection is the best connection of Canadian art anywhere, and we're in the Lauren Harris Room, which is just you know, how can you not feel patriotic when you're in this room? It's beautiful, and it's for everybody.
I'm seeing scenes of Toronto, I'm seeing scenes of the Rockies, and it really is so special. And as you mentioned, it's for everybody. We've seen students come through here, we've seen our retired community come through here, we've got people just hanging out with friends. Is that kind of what you want for people to come through this space and explore it in their own way?
100%. This is one of those museums that you can spend 20 minutes or you can spend 6 hours. That's cool. We don't care. And an annual pass makes it really the most affordable cultural destination in Toronto. It's $40 for a year. You can come in and out. And we have about 250,000 people who are annual pass holders and members. That's 250,000 people is a lot of people.
It's just a few. And 125 years is such a milestone. So how do you celebrate that big birthday? I know there's a ton of events going on, but you've got programming throughout the summer.
Yeah, so we're going to have a big bash tomorrow night. It's sold out. It's sold out really fast. That's from about 900 people. Yeah, DJ Climax will be there spinning for 8 and 11. That's great. But every Friday night we're doing something. My favorite is a program we do, which is called Awkward First Date Night. And basically, we help you on your date. It's always sold out, so book ahead, right?
Listen, you can come for your first date, you can come for just a friend's night out, but there's so much to do here at the AGO, and you have so many new exhibits. What are some of the newer ones or ones that have come back?
Yeah, this summer we're doing an exhibition by, her name's Joyce Whelan. She died about a decade ago. She was one of the great artists here in Toronto, and people aren't familiar with her anymore, and we're bringing her back full force. It's called Heart On. It's as in heart, as in your heart, but it's a good one.
Listen, there's never a shortage of things to do here at the AGO. Thank you, Stefan, so much. We'll have more later tonight at 5 and 6, but for now, I'll send things back inside. We're going to go wander the gallery. Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Thank you, Jess. Still to come, narrating a harrowing experience, a man's close encounter with a grizzly bear, and the warnings that have followed.
As the weather warms up, our country's national parks are bustling with more visitors, and we're not talking just humans hitting the trails.
In Banff, a hiker had a frightening encounter with a grizzly bear. And as CTV's Kathy Lee reports, it sparked a conversation around spring safety in the Canadian wilderness.
Still following me?
This encounter, a heart-pounding reminder of just how wild the wilderness can be.
He went down a little bit further after the video, stopped at a stream, and he just got some water.
Isaac Shaw documents the stressful moments before the grizzly strides by.
And don't run.
The man says he was hiking in Banff National Park when he and the Bruin came face to face.
I was like a little unsure what to do. A lot of you guys mentioned that I should have just walked off the trail. Yeah, that would have been a great idea. I was just scared.
Parks Canada says these chance encounters are rare, but more likely now that bears are awakening from their long winter slumber.
In Regina, this black bear was spotted exploring the campus grounds, but eventually chased off.
I was afraid that somebody would come out of their dorm or a student walking through the U of R would run into this bear.
This is a time of year when we see younger dispersing bears traveling fairly large distances at times, and those can be the bears that get into trouble.
With more bears out, the province of Saskatchewan and Parks Canada issued notices about bear safety. One expert reminding people what to do.
Talk in a calm voice, face the bear, back away if the bear is approaching, always have that spray ready to go for sure. Most importantly, be prepared to use it.
And while these strategies are important to know when face-to-face with one of these,
gotta remain calm.
Parks Canada says your best play is to avoid a bear altogether. Make noise on the trail so it's aware it has company. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
A new study ranks Canada near the middle of the pack when it comes to great places in the world to grow up. UNICEF's annual report card suggests 1 in 5 youth in Canada face frequent bullying, 1 in 5 are lonely, and 1 in 4 struggle to make friends. The survey found Canada ranked 19th out of 36 countries overall, despite being among the 10 wealthiest countries in the world. Canada landed near the bottom end when it comes to adolescent suicide, child mortality, and social skills.
Still to come, uniting music lovers in perfect harmony. A new concert venue opens just north of the city, transforming the live entertainment scene. We have the details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There's some big name acts coming to Toronto this spring and summer, including Barry Manilow, who's set to hit the stage May 31st.
One super fan from Brampton wanted to see him very badly and was disappointed when she couldn't get wheelchair-accessible tickets for the concert. CTV's Pat Foran reports.
What's your favorite song?
Oh, I have too many. I can't tell you what. I write the songs.
You would be hard-pressed to find a more loyal fan of Barry Manilow than Cynthia from Brampton, who asked us just to use her first name. Cynthia has read all his books, can play his songs on the piano, and has actually worn out his CDs.
Barry, I'm your biggest fan. Oh, it would just be thrilling to see you. Just thrilling.
She saw Barry Manilow twice many years ago and was excited the 81-year-old singer was coming to Toronto for his last concerts tour.
I write the songs.
Cynthia has a disability and requires a mobility scooter, wheelchair, and walker to get around. We first met with her in February when she was trying to buy tickets for the concert. She said she was shocked there were no wheelchair-accessible tickets available.
They checked and said, no, we're not selling tickets for the handicapped one. So I don't know why.
Manilow is playing at Scotiabank Arena, and according to its website, it does provide 1% of fixed seating for the disabled and their companions. We also reached out to Ticketmaster, and a spokesperson said accessible seating tickets were available for the show. Due to demand, this ticket type is no longer available.
For a show like Barry Manilow, the audience is going to be older folks.
An advocacy group says there needs to be more accessible seating made available for people with disabilities at concerts and sporting events.
We need to have proper standards enacted and enforced so that when future venues are built, they are designed to maximize their accessibility.
CTV News also reached out to Scotiabank Arena, and they were able to locate 2 wheelchair-accessible tickets, and they gave them to Cynthia and her husband. Now she'll be going to the concert, and she couldn't be happier.
I got tickets to Barry Manilow. Oh, our darling gone to heaven. I am so excited. I am just thrilled to pieces.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Enjoy the show, girl. North of the city, there is a new hub for music lovers. As CTV's Andrea Case reports, Harmony Music Hall says if you like the sound of music, this is your destination.
The old Vandorf Community Centre in Whitchurch-Stouffville, minutes north of Toronto, has been transformed into one of the GTA's newest music venues. Kevin Kerr is one of the owners of Harmony Music Hall.
It's about music, it's about community, it's about accessibility, it's about low ticket prices and exposing the treating artists with absolute kindness and showcasing them for the community. And I think as long as we have those reasons behind us, the success is coming and people are coming and the community's response has been incredible. Everybody loves it. Great artists are reaching out to us, so it does feel right.
On stage, Juno Award winner Jake Vadland and his band, the Sturgeon River Boys. Music is more than a passion for Kerr. In 2018, he pulled off an incredible feat called Winter Song. With over 437 hours of nonstop music, it earned him the Guinness World Record for the world's longest concert ever. This venue will offer more than music.
A lot of artists are telling other artists about us. That's kind of been a really cool thing for us. We started reaching out to a few bands in the beginning that we really wanted to showcase here, and now a lot of artists are coming to us.
One of Kerr's business partners in this venture is Unionville businessman and musician Lou Tucci.
It is a little different because there are a lot of bands that are, above the bar level, but not quite, the level of a Massey Hall or something like that. So this, provides a perfect venue for those bands that are in between. And of course, there's nothing like this north of the city.
Open since October, this intimate venue where music matters holds 200 people.
To see some people out there in the front singing songs that I wrote, singing words to it and stuff, that's kind of a nice feeling, and that they enjoy it. I always like to make sure that people leave with a smile on their face.
Harmony Hall has a busy upcoming lineup, including Ron Sexsmith, the Sultans of String, a Bob Marley tribute band, and a number of local acts. Andrea Case, CTV News.
The union representing Air Canada flight attendants has filed for conciliation with the federal labor minister. The Canadian Union of Public Employees says the decision was made because of an impasse in negotiations with the airline. CUPE represents 10,000 flight attendants who work for the carrier. The union says its top priority is boosting compensation, noting an entry-level full-time salary is roughly $1,951 per month. Air Canada says it plans to work with the federal mediator and conciliation service to reach a deal that recognizes its flight attendants' valued contributions to the airline.
Also on the labor front, Canada Post is pausing negotiations with the union representing its workers with a little over a week before the deadline to get a deal. The Crown Corporation says the past few days of talks have been fruitless, and this temporary pause will allow the Postal Service to return to the table with comprehensive proposals it hopes can move discussions forward. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers calls the pause reprehensible, in part because there's no clear date for when those new proposals will arrive.
The Toronto Scepters will look to stave off elimination tonight in their semifinal series against Minnesota.
Izzy feeds it to Stackline. She scores!
Toronto lost 7-5 Sunday, giving the Frost a 2-1 series lead. The Scepters take on the defending champs again tonight at the XL Energy Centre in St. Paul. A deciding Game 5 is set for Saturday in Toronto if necessary. Meanwhile, the Scepters Renata Fast is among 3 finalists for the PWHL's Defender of the Year award. The winner will be announced on June 25th.
The Blue Jays were looking for a 5th straight win when they began a series with the Tampa Bay Rays last night.
And he hits it high in the air, down the right field line, gone!
How about that? A 3-run homer in the 8th inning gave the Jays a 7-6 lead. However, they gave back that lead in the top of the 9th with the Rays hitting a grand slam to take an 11-7 lead. The Jays tried to stage a rally but fell short, losing 11-9. Teams are back in the field tonight. The Jays currently sit in 3rd place in their division with the Rays right behind in 4th.
Major League Baseball is reinstating the late Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson. The move makes both eligible for the Sports Hall of Fame after their careers were tarnished by gambling scandals. Rose's permanent ban is being lifted 8 months after his death. It comes as the Cincinnati Reds prepare to honor baseball's career hits leader with Pete Rose Night. Commissioner Rob Manfred is changing the league's policy on permanent ineligibility, saying bans will expire after death. Under the Hall of Fame's rules, it appears the earliest Rose or Jackson could be inducted would be in 2028.
Coming up on CTV News, Ontario's growing season is off to a strong start. Asparagus aplenty for shoppers eager to support local producers. We check out this year's crop after the break. Spring has sprung, and Ontario's growing season is kicking off with asparagus.
It's the field crop's earliest arrival, and customers are flocking to farms for a sample. And as CTV's Spencer Turcott reports, operators say the push to buy local is stronger than ever.
That's a beauty.
Seeing sparrow grass poking up from the ground never gets old for third-generation asparagus farmer David Barry. The asparagus spears have him smiling from ear to ear even more this year. A tough winter with lots of snow is actually good for the crop because it means more moisture.
You could almost say it's our happy time, because if you grow a crop and you can't sell it, what's the use?
The happiest time is short-lived, just a couple of months. But fourth-generation asparagus farmer Tim Barry says it couldn't come at a better time.
The demand for fresh Ontario asparagus has never been stronger. Customers are coming in and saying, do you sell a lot of Canada stuff here? And we say, well, we sell all Canada.
Fresh Ontario asparagus, exciting for restaurants and caterers too.
Chef Dia just picked some of this up for his catering. Some's going to the boathouse.
One of the people responsible for getting the valuable product to local businesses and eventually people's plates safely is fifth-generation farmer William Barry.
We're delivering a product that's fresh right out of the field. You know, it's just no spray. And then just like probably the best part as well is like how happy people are.
People like loyal customer Chris McLeod.
I came here the very first time with my mother-in-law. I think I was about 8 years old. She wasn't my mother-in-law yet.
She hasn't stopped coming back, especially now with that push to buy Canadian.
Well, I'm trying to buy local, And this is a really easy place to buy. We just don't run out of asparagus until its season's over.
And when that season is finally over.
Oh, I dream about asparagus all winter long. Yeah.
Spencer Turcott, CTV News, Cambridge.
Looks good.
You like asparagus?
Love it.
Oh, one of my favorites. How about you?
Oh, on the barbecue for the long weekend? Doesn't that sound good?
Do you think they're doing so well because we've had a lot of rain?
Well, you know what? The weather really does factor in at this time of year. And we've had a lot of rain just recently, but it hasn't been a particularly soggy spring, interestingly enough. Let's take one more look at the satellite and radar and show you where the active weather is at this time. Still some showers in the east end of southern Ontario, and we're holding on to the potential through the rest of the day today. Overnight at a glance tonight, 15 degrees. Watch for fog developing late evening, overnight, and into tomorrow morning. There's tomorrow's high, 24. It's going to feel more like 28, though, so humidity creeping into our forecast. And the 7-day looks like this. Unsettled to start the long weekend, sunny but cool to finish it off. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.